Good evening, all of you. The Department of English, JAYARAJ ANNAPACKIAM College, is highly enthralled to invite you to sit for yet another session in this Golden Jubilee webinar series. As we cross 50 years, this moment will be marked in the golden pages of JAC. For any aspiring educational institution, crossing the boundaries and reaching out to the sky can never happen without the invisible hand of God. He is the only guiding star for them. It is always our God's graceful presence that illuminates darkness. As the sun sets down, let us illuminate this virtual meet with a prayer song followed by Bible reading and prayer.
Come, you broken, heavy laden. Come, you helpless. Come, you in despair. Come, be blessed. Come, be saved. Come, believe. Come, receive the goodness of God's grace. Died, so I may live. By grace I am saved. Come, you weary, hope and be free. Come, you helpless, lift your misery. Come, be blessed and be blessed. Come, be saved and be saved. Come, believe, come receive the goodness of God's grace.
A reading from the book of Proverbs, chapter 2, verses 1 to 6. My son, if you accept my words and store up my commands within you, turning your ear to wisdom and applying your heart to understanding, Indeed, if you call out for insight and cry aloud for understanding, and if you look for it as for silver and search for it as for hidden treasure, then you will understand the fear of the Lord and find the knowledge of God. For the Lord gives wisdom. From his mouth come knowledge and understanding. The word of God. Thanks be to God.
Prayer. Dear Lord, Abba Father, we thank you and glorify you for your amazing grace and continued presence in the webinar series. As it was going on for the past few days, bless us and guide us today and in the days to come. Your instilled wisdom in us will prepare us to listen to this lecture and lead us in the path of upright. We seek your blessings upon our college, management, faculty, students, and participants from other colleges across the globe. May your blessings be showered upon our resource person, Professor Dr. John J. Sekar, and keep him in good health and cheer. We ask this in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ. Amen.
To be a leader, one needs to have courage, confidence, knowledge, and divine mercy. Here comes Dr. Patricia Alpin Nirmala, the head Department of English, who has taken up the lead role in conducting this webinar series and making it into a successful one. May I now invite Dr. Patricia to welcome this virtual gathering.
My special greetings to everyone present in this virtual lecture hall. I am pleased to welcome you all to the sixth webinar of the series. First of all, I gratefully remember more than 500 passionate professors and scholars who have been celebrating with us the spirit of Jubilee for the past 2 weeks by participating in the intellectual journey of webinar series. I believe that by participating in such webinars, we are in the right place at the right time. Together, let us accelerate the spirit in us to bring transformation in the higher education. In order to materialize the transformation, I take a great privilege to connect with us a great master who explored the digital world with his disciples a decade before in the field of education. He has set remarkable footprints in the traditional teaching. I can still witness some great professors roaming with the study materials provided by the great master when only the cyclostyle technology was available. Moreover, he is the role model to many of the online famous speakers. We can proudly feel that the father of blended learning in South India is with us. He is no other than the master, Dr. John Chegar, who is going to explore the concepts of today's topic to the mass digital audience. Yes, innovations in teaching and learning are indispensable for our response to and recovery from the COVID crisis in higher education. On behalf of the management and organizing committee, I accord a warm welcome you, sir,
Thank you,
to
ma'am. Thanks for
explore the
having me.
paradigm to us to march proudly in the field of higher education. I wish all the participants to have a very successful webinar. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you, ma'am, for your endearing note of welcome. Now we are moving into the most vital part of the session. Even though we are from various parts of India and having different mother tongues, the medium of communication we have chosen is English. This global language still now serves as an evidence of our colonial past. With this idea in mind, let us consider that the study of language is not only of culture, behavior, and thinking, but it connects us with the study of globalization, politics, language policy, public policy, and economics. Our resource person for today will throw more light on these ideas. We are here tonight to listen to and learn from one of the most important scholars of our time. I'm delighted that Professor Dr. J. John Shekar, my guru, guide, mentor, is here to share with us his knowledge, thoughts, and insights on the recent trends in English language learning and teaching. Professor has 34 years of teaching experience. He has held the position of Head of Research Department, Dean of Academic Policies and Administration, and Dean for Curriculum Development and Research, and NAC Coordinator for 7 years at the American College. His areas of specialization are ELT and literary theories. He has 65 MPhil scholars guided, 12 PhD scholars awarded, and 8 PhD scholars being supervised. He is an adjudicator and a member of doctoral committee in 12 universities across the country. Professor has citation index history of 11 in ResearchGate, 18 in Google Scholar, and 173 in academia.edu. His RG score is 18.32 with 74,360 reads. He has 97 publications in national and international journals, 116 research papers presented in national and international conferences in India and abroad, 62 technical sessions chaired, 11 awards received, 5 international conferences organized, 93 plenaries and panel discussions delivered. He has been a member of editorial board review committee of 10 international journals. He is a reviewer of journals published by Elsevier and Web of Science. He has 5 in-house textbooks on conversational skills, reading and writing skills, study skills, career skills, and spoken English. 2 commercial publications on communicative English followed in Madurai Kamaraj University and English usage. 7 journals and conference proceedings edited. He has attended international conferences in Hong Kong, Singapore, Malaysia, Sri Lanka, Dubai, and Cambodia. And being his student and ward, I deem it a privilege to introduce the Socrates of 21st century for his influence on his students, Saussure of South Asia for his analytic brain, an exponent of ELT, a beacon light for many of his students. We welcome you, sir. May I now invite Professor to deliver his keynote address.
Thank you, Dr. Dorothy.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Patricia, head of the department. Dear organizers and participants, a pleasant evening to all of you. At the outset, I would like to thank the organizers, particularly Dr. Patricia, the head of the department, and Dr. Dorothy, a former PhD scholar of mine and presently assistant professor in English at JAC, and to the convener and the college authorities for inviting me to be part of this Department Golden Jubilee webinar series. I request the audience not to take what Dr. Dorothy said towards the end of her introduction. Don't take it very seriously, it's highly subjective. Thank you, Dorothy, for having advertised my so-called achievements to this audience. I feel humbled by your introduction. Friends, I hope this series offers really, the word that they have chosen is cornucopia of pleasures and the benefits and profits to the teachers, scholars, and students of English literature. We need to perform, all of us know that we need to perform a dual role of language and literature teachers. And all of us, I do believe that are trying our level best to act as language teachers, because we got very sound training in literature for minimum 5 years to maximum of including research period about 8 years. But there is a lot of difference between being a language teacher and a literature teacher. And now in between the two, you have one more additional role called literary theories teacher also. So now that confusion has complete now in the minds of students, because an English teacher is performing different roles. I would like to congratulate all the participants who have registered for today's webinar on English language learning and teaching. Recent trends in English language learning and teaching. My special greetings and thanks to you all, because most of you, if not all of you, have an unswerving commitment to teaching English literature professionally due to our training and certification in literature. However, you have chosen to attend today's session, perhaps the only session out of 9 sessions in this series, which is on language. And it's a fact, end of the day, many of you have worked a lot, and then still you could spare a couple of hours to listen to me, to listen to on this topic. So that shows that you have genuine interest in being a language teacher. And I think that many of you are practicing teachers, or young and the experienced teachers, and some of you may be researchers, and some of you may be students. Now, coming to the topic, the theme, recent trends in English language and literature. This is a topic that I gave to Dr. Dorothy when she approached me fairly, I think that sometime in November or December, I don't remember, a few months back. I gave her some topics, and then she chose recent trends in English language and learning and teaching. And I gave this topic specifically because I want all of you to focus on first on the lexical the words that I have used in this title, rather than a couple of grammar words. No, except and in, and all the words merit our attention, because they contribute to the theme of today's topic. So let me start with the first word, recent. What does it mean? What time frame can it recommend? Merriam-Webster's dictionary says that it is a time not long past. Recent means a time not long past. And an online dictionary defines it as belonging to a past period, but comparatively closer to the present. So there is something between the past and present. Friends, in a post-colonial, postmodernist society like India, periodization is always difficult because of colonial hangover. Even now, it is an unresolved dispute in the expression post-colonialism. Post-colonialism is an hyphenated word or unhyphenated word. If it is hyphenated word, what is the meaning of post? Okay, so the problem persists. As far as English teachers are concerned, when I say English teachers, literature teachers, we are still living in the past and refusing to accept the present, because we are living in the fictional world. So naturally, when we say that recent, a trend, recent connotes something past, something closer to present. The question is whose past, which past? Is it a Shakespeare's past, or is it T.S. Eliot's past? When we teach literature, canonical literature, we treat past as part of the present. So Shakespeare is treated as a part of the present. Eliot is part of 21st century. So it's very difficult for us to define the adjective recent. Many of us may be physically or genealogically be in the present, but attitudinally, we are living in the past. So it's very difficult to fix a deadline to define recent. Shall we say modern, contemporary, or current, or latest, or newest, or now, or the present day, as some of the synonyms for recent. As far as language learning and teaching, consciously I worded it language learning and teaching. I didn't usually we say language teaching and learning, but I consciously phrase this language learning. So as far as language learning and teaching in India is concerned, we still cling on to what was introduced to us in our educational system by our colonial masters. These colonial masters, they were not educationists, they were all administrators, but still they imposed certain frame structures on our consciousness, so it stays there. So as far as language learning and teaching is concerned, the two methods these colonial masters introduced or being practiced very faithfully personally in our English language classrooms. An English language classroom is a highly protected place into which we don't normally allow other teachers to come and audit. There is a lot of secrecy about our classes, maybe language classes or literature classes. The two methods of teaching and learning English as a foreign language. Remember that when English was introduced to us, we called it a foreign language, where grammar translation method and the direct method. These two methods are still followed in vast majority of educational institutions at all levels. Though we pay lip service to what we call CLT, communicative language teaching, in terms of approach to teaching and learning, we may feel robust to use literary text in terms of materials for teaching English as a second language. No, but still we continue to use unconsciously involuntarily, as if these two elements, direct method and grammar translation method, were present in our DNA. If we say no to my observations in terms of method, approach, and materials, using grammar translation method and direct method, using literary stuff in language classes, or adhering to some version of CLT, at least attitudinally, mentally, epistemologically, or scholastically. We know something about CLT, and therefore we don't fail to flaunt as if no, we are following CLT in our classes. So if we think that we feel like saying no to these observations, then I think, friends, we should focus on trends. Okay, so I move from recent to trends now. That to recent trends. Okay, so trends about what? Trends about the next word, English. As I said a little while ago, when English was introduced by our colonial masters during 17th century, unofficially by missionaries, and officially from 19th century onwards, following Lord Macaulay's minute, English was introduced to us as a foreign language. It was other tongue to us, not our tongue. English was treated as the other tongue. We were teaching, we were made to teach, or we were learning, or we were made to learn master's language. Okay, so it was English was used, English was taught, and English was learned as the language of, as the property of, as the cultural baggage of English-speaking people, mainly from Britain. To serve this purpose, they prescribed English literature. We wanted English to be learned. We wanted to use English for communication. Our English masters offered, instead of language, they offered us literature. They offered us their culture. They wanted us to appreciate the superior nature of their literature. Okay, and by familiarizing ourselves with English culture and English literature, we were made to learn English as a language. That was the punishment that was imposed on us. So Shakespeare came to serve as a standard, received pronunciation, came to act as a role model, Rendon Martin as an uncompromising goalpost to attain accuracy. So these are all the nitty-gritty of this colonial pattern of English language education. Pedagogically, we teach and use British English up to research levels. When you write your PhD thesis, when you write a research article, somehow we write it only in British English, because we have been exposed to, pedagogically, we have been exposed to British English. Many Indian teachers of English language and literature, though they may teach American literature or say African American literature, we are not sure of how to teach American English pedagogically, methodically, how to teach and test, that we don't know. So we have been using only British English. Sporadically, we are mixing with American English also. And when foreign examiners evaluate our PhD thesis, they ask us to be consistent. Either you follow British English or American English. In the case of some commerce people, somehow they have been influenced by Australian English. I know that one of my colleagues from a women's institution in Madurai, now she had her PhD thesis written. She belongs to a commerce department, because the thesis was valued by an Australian examiner. So she expected this poor lady to be using Australian English. A commerce teacher using Australian English is too much in Indian context. So, however, so this was the kind of a status, colonial English, somebody's English we were learning, what we call foreign language. However, position status of English dramatically changed all over the world, to the extent that no language, including the oldest language that we claim, Tamil, can never ever imitate English. Whatever happened to English from being once upon a time an island language, now it has become a global language. can never be repeated in the case of other languages. Okay, one of the youngest languages in the world is English. One of the oldest languages, if not the oldest language, now confidently we can say that the oldest language in the world now is Tamil language. But still, seniority doesn't matter as far as the language use is concerned. We learn and use a language for what it does and not what it is. Tamil may be the oldest language, but then English may be the youngest language. But English does so many things in the lives of people all over the world, not all over the world, all over the globe. Okay, that English is attractive to us. Okay, so there is a paradigm shift in the position of the English language, and that has to be taught, and therefore we need to have recent trends, we need to have recent research findings in teaching and learning the English language. So friends, the first point that I want to make clear is that we are not expected to teach Shakespearean English or Miltonic English or canonical English, because that English is dead and gone. We don't need that English. These youngsters don't need that English. Commerce students, computer science students don't need that English. They don't need British English at all. They need American English. No English and no English. They are reading books, they are science books, they are social science books, which are written in American English. When you buy a system, at default, it is in American English, unless you change it to some other variety. Whatever, even mobile phone you buy, that English is American English. So youngsters or 21st century students are influenced unconsciously, invisibly by American English, something that we are not offering in our curriculum. So what is the paradigm shift in the position status of English, both in India and at the international level? What English are we teaching? As I asked you, are we teaching British English, Indian English, American English, or what English are we learning? What English are we teaching? What English are we learning? And there are many Englishes. If you read post-colonial theories, you have several Englishes. We don't say that they are all dialects. They are all Englishes. Okay, and you have national variety and non-national variety. And it is non-national variety users who outnumber the national variety users. I'll tell you a little while now. So English is no longer the language of a small island called Britain. English is no longer a colonial language as it was when it was introduced to us. English is no longer an elitist language as it was made available to upper class educated Indians in India at the time of independence. It is no longer a regional language. It is not simply used, spoken in one region of the world or one region of the continent, one region of the country. It is not even a continental language. You can't say it's a continent. You can say French is a continental language. You cannot say English is a continental language because it is used in all the continents. Okay, and above all, we are learning and teaching English not even as a national language. If it is a national language, it is bound to only one country. So English is not the national language at all. It was a national language, but now it has got a covetous position of being the only denationalized language. It was a nationalized language once upon a time. When we started learning English 300 years ago, we learned it as British English, English that belonged to Britain, that particular country. Okay, but now English is being learnt and taught all over the world, not as a national language, but as a denationalized language. Think of banks. Mrs. Gandhi, when she was the Prime Minister, nationalized several private banks. But when her son, Rajiv Gandhi, became Prime Minister, he denationalized so many banks and then he made them private. Now, private banks outnumber nationalized banks in our country. So something like that. A language that belongs to a particular country is denationalized, which means English does not belong to any one nation, so that you can call it a national language. English belongs to the world. No, we call it global language. I always say that English is the only Puramboka language in the world to which no one can apply for patta, because it doesn't belong to one particular person. It doesn't belong to one particular nation. It doesn't belong to one particular caste and community. No one can pocket English because it has grown to become a global language. And therefore, friends, we must be aware of the fact that when you are using one particular British or American or Australian writer in your language class, you are teaching one particular national variety. That's a great danger, because English is being freed from carrying any one particular specific culture. Okay, it carries maybe the punishment given to the English language for having become a global language. It has to bear the burden of the global culture. Okay, so when you use English, it carries Indian cultures. When Americans use English, perhaps it carries American culture. Okay, so English has gone global, being a regional language, being an island language. Now it has gone global. Robert McCrum, in his book 1992, the title is Globish. He took glow of global and east of English and created a new term and gave us the title of the book. That was published in the year 1992. Globish. English has become a globish, global language. Perhaps we may say that English is the third largest language in the world after Chinese and Spanish, but not restricted to one or a few areas in the case of these two languages. Chinese is used only in China. Spanish may be used in a few countries, whereas English has spread geographically throughout the globe. Okay, so English keeps on spreading. I'm using it consciously in the active voice. Keeps on spreading. English is not spread. It is not passive. Nobody takes effort to spread English as colonial masters did in the past. But now English is spreading and English is not spread. English is not pushed by anyone, but English is pulled by everyone towards themselves. English is seen as a language of development. Anyone, any individual, any country, any region wants to have development, they need the company of English. So they are pulling English towards themselves. China is pulling English towards themselves. Japan is pulling English towards themselves. Nobody is pushing English, but everybody is pulling English towards themselves. It is spoken now 112 countries, 112 countries out of 192 or 202 countries, depending upon its membership in the UN. So the current survey says that English is spoken, English is used in 112 countries in the world now. And other countries don't speak it, but they use it for international communication through translation. Only through English, they get their message translated across. So it is no longer used for literature or cultural studies as it was used in 17th and 18th centuries. Now it is used as a lingua franca in the world. It's a link language. The whole world will be fragmented. The whole world will be broken into small linguistic islands, but for English. It is English that keeps the entire globe together. Same thing with India also. India will be balkanized. India will be broken into regions of regional languages, but for English. So English keeps all the states, all the language speakers together. So our students need English as the lingua franca. We need English as the link language. We don't want this as a national language. Our students don't need it as an American English or British English now, because they do not know where they will be placed globally. Wherever they go, they may be placed in so many countries where English is not used as official language at all, but still they could manage if they know English. So they would like to learn English in order to use it. Present-day students want to learn English, not to deposit English in their pocket, not to deposit their knowledge of English in a mark sheet, but they want to use it. They want to use it with whom? They want to use it with those people who do not know their languages. I want to use it. I want to use English with my Malayalam friend because I don't know Malayalam. My Malayali friend does not know Tamil. So I want to use English to have communication with everyone who doesn't know my language, my mother tongue. Okay. So thus, I need English to speak to Japanese. Japanese cannot learn Tamil. I cannot learn Japanese. But within a few seconds now, I can text in English. Both of us, we understand. So present day generations of students, they want to use English to speak to Japanese, to Chinese, Russians, Italians, Koreans, Arabic speaking people, and so on. According to Kachru, it has got three circles of uses. Not all uses are the same. Okay, you cannot talk about equality in terms of use of English. We are all users of English, but Kachru has categorized us into three categories. Number one, some users, minority users of English, roughly about 300 million users. 300 million users, 30 crore people, they are using English as inner circle. That is the first category, inner circle. 300 million users are using English as their only mother tongue, native language, into which they are born, they die, they dream. They don't know any other language. Okay, so this is called inner circle. Then there is a circle of users called outer circle, and modest number is 600 million. 600 million users of English are living in the outer circle. Inner circle, native speakers. Outer circle, like Indians, those who are using English as a second language. Those who are using English as a second language. 300 million people are using English as MT, mother tongue. Roughly 600 plus million, number varies. It could be even 1,000 million. If you ask Indians, do you know English? Most of the people will say, I know English. Those who study in schools and colleges, those who educated people, they all will say that. So out of 1,300 million, no, people say 1,000 million, people will say, we know English. Even semi-literate, illiterate, living in rural areas, they also use plenty of English words in their daily discourses. They may claim that they also know English, because all said and done, English is a language of power and prestige. So a modest number of 600 million people now belong to outer circle, and they use English as a second language, next only to the mother tongue. Now comes the third circle, which Kachru says expanding circle. Okay, expanding circle. He has identified roughly 1,000 million people, and these people, so inner circle, mother tongue users, outer circle, second language speakers, users, and expanding circle, the circle keeps on expanding. About roughly 1,000 million people are learning and using English as a foreign language. So English has got three types of users. English as number one, native users, native speakers. Number two, like Indians, second language users, and number three, English is being used as a foreign language. They form the majority. And there are two varieties of English being used, the term that I already referred to. One is native English, the other one is non-native English. So in India, in Pakistan, or in all countries that come under outer circle, countries that are using English as a second language, they are all using non-native English. If you go to Singapore, they call it as Singlish. Singapore in English, Singlish. Okay, and if you go to Malaysia, you will find the Malaysian words are transliterated into English. For example, railway station, STASION. University, no, instead of Y, you find SITI, because they have translated. That is the Malay, okay, equivalent to English. So now coming to India, we have not only Indian English. Of course, Indian English is it is a myth. Though Central Institute of English Foreign Languages did a lot of research on identifying Indian variety, it has failed because nobody speaks Indian English, because it's very, very difficult to identify a particular person in Indian, because each Indian has their own linguistic background. I am Indian, you are Indian, Malayali is Indian, a person from Uttar Pradesh is Indian, Kashmir is Indian, but each of these Indians has been influenced by their own local languages. So what happens is that English that in Tamil Nadu, English that is used by Tamil people in Tamil Nadu is, strictly speaking, not Indian English, is Taminglish and Hinglish. There are a number of articles written on Hinglish. Hindi speaking friends, no, they are using a kind of English that is called Hinglish. So the Indian English has got number of varieties, and you got lots of dialects, you got lots of registers also. And coming to the status and position of English in India, I just made pedagogically, I made one reference. English is learnt and taught as a second language. It is a numerical value because all of us start learning, maybe except a tiny minority of Anglo-Indians. Most of us, we start learning English only after having learned our mother tongue. Some minority of people have the luxury of learning English along with the Tamil. So simultaneous bilingualism. They learn two languages simultaneously from the cradle. That may be possible for some people. So English is learnt and taught as a second language. Friends, when we teach English in our classroom, we should not forget that we are not teaching, we are not speaking, we should not expect our students to learn English as empty, as a mother tongue. It is near impossible for them to learn Eliot in English or Shakespeare in English, leave alone their literary character. But that is the mother tongue English. But we are speaking, we are teaching, our textbooks are written, even our theses are written only in our language, and that is called English as a second language. Let us not be ashamed of using English as a second language. Creative writers in English, Indian writers in English, they have shed that psychological inhibition. Happily, they are code mixing and code switching. It is up to the non-Indians to read. See, there was a time when Anita Desai used to write novels. She used to mix Hindi words, and she used to give kind of footnotes at the foot of every page if you read her earlier novels. Okay, but later, maybe when Kiran Desai started writing, she has used plenty of words from local languages, but she has not given any explanation at all. And Indian writers in English who started writing after 1992, after India started asserting its economic position as a result of India signing this GATT agreement then, and we adopted LPG, liberalization, privatization, and globalization phenomena. And now India is asserting after in 1992, signed by minority government, Narasimha Rao government. But now you see that we are all so proud of Indian English because our economy has grown up. Now we are trying to compete with the first world countries. Okay, so creative writers in Tamil also, they are using lots of English words in their Tamil fiction. They do not have any reservation about using English in their daily discourse. So in our classes, somehow we are bedded to what is called direct method. We don't use Tamil. We never encourage students to use Tamil either. English only method, what you call direct method. This I would see as a remnant of colonialism. It's a colonial hangover. Now when India became a republic, when India came to have its own constitution, one of the language teachers, you must understand that it's an important document. Indian constitution is an important document as far as English teachers are concerned, because English is assigned a very special status position in the constitution, which no other Indian language can aspire. Okay. Now, Dravidian politicians are asking for equal treatment of Tamil on par with Hindi. But what is the position of English? Constitution says that English is the only associate official language, like vice principal of a college. Principal alone cannot do everything. Hindi is the official language, but Hindi alone cannot do everything. Hindi is the official language, not the country. Hindi is the official language of Union Government of India, functional language. But associate official language is English. And now, official language is not in several states. Official Hindi is not used in several South Indian states or even in Bengal. But it is associate official language, that English, that is being used. Sahitya Academy, the highest literary forum, treats English as an Indian language. See the contradiction. on the one hand, we say English is a second language. On the other hand, Sahitya Academy treats English as an Indian language. It honors an Indian, Indian writers writing in English every year. According to 1961 survey, India is supposed to have 1,652 languages. 1652. Joshua Fishman, a great social linguist, calls India as a great socio-linguistic lab. This is the only country in the world. India is the only country in the world where you have hundreds of languages spoken. 1,652 languages. Maybe now it may be a little less after tsunami. Some languages in Andaman Nicobar Islands, died because they lost 2 speakers. They died. So Hindu was flashing all those languages. So it may be a little less than 1,652 languages, but still the greatest number of languages spoken in one particular country. And now India has adopted, when you say India, Indians have adopted English. In spite of these biological languages, 1,652 Indian languages, every Indian has adopted English as an additional language, as if we are not satisfied with these huge number of Indian languages. Friends, English is the only official written language of the Supreme Court. Maybe it could be Valakadu Moli, maybe in Tamil in High Courts in Tamil Nadu, maybe Hindi or other languages. But the only official written language of Supreme Court and High Courts, all verdicts are written only in English, so that it can be used throughout the country. It is the most preferred medium of professional institutions like engineering, medicine, business administration. It's the only link language within India across the states for communication. I have traveled to the north without knowing Hindi at all, but managed with English with the local guys over there who do not know English as extensive as I do as an English teacher, but still they are very kind and sympathetic toward me. Though I do not know Hindi, they took pity on me because I don't know Hindi. Here is an idiot from Tamil Nadu who does not know Hindi, but still let him enjoy his life here a few days in Jabalpur when I went there for a conference. You can establish a feeling of fellow citizenship among Indians even when you use English. Parents, including semi-literate, illiterate, prefer English as a medium for their children from kindergarten level. Whether it is right or wrong is a different question. It's a language in which all Indians freely code mix, freely code switch. In other words, no Indian can speak in their native language for even a few seconds without code switching in English, knowingly or unknowingly. Somehow now we cannot speak our own language alone. It is widely used for advertising for all kinds of brands, from pickles to iPhones, from Apple to iPhone. So it is used by all pharmaceutical companies for their products, except Hindi. I understand it is near impossible to find any other Indian language in your tablets or the doctors that are prescribing. Maximum number of newspapers, magazines, and journals being published in English. What is the position of English internationally? It's the language of anything that is international. If we call something as international, that international subject can be transacted only in English, be it industry or business or administration or publication or research or laboratories or airports or maritime activities, space stations, science and technology. If we call something is international, and English is the language of that particular subject, because international topics can be dealt with only international. Even if you see the Indian writers, many Indian writers don't write in their regional languages. They write only in English because English has the wider reach. Okay, it is used in the United Nations, WHO, the European Union, IMF, World Bank, used in all developed countries. It is used throughout the world as the medium of higher education. It is used as the only mode of translation between two languages of the world leaders who do not know each other's language. So friends, against this background, I want you to understand and locate the recent trends in English language learning and teaching. So the recent trends that you have seen in the position of the English language have demanded researchers, scholars in English language area to make a paradigm shift shift, and that I have given it in my title, recent trends in English. Now comes the last one, language teaching. That the shift is from language teaching to language learning. That I want you to first, English language can be learned without teachers at all. That is the first shift. That's the most recent trend. Learning is more important than teaching. Learners are more important than teachers. Okay, classrooms need to be learner-centric, learning-focused, rather than teacher-dominant. But somehow we teachers know we have to have in-house criticism of what we are doing, and we always think that no, we are the controllers of English language. Every day, like we are like people who are working at public distribution ration shops. We ration out a bit of English every day in the class, and we do think that students learn English from English teachers. But friends, I tell you from my 34 years of service, our students do not learn English from English teachers at all. Like you may be a maths professor, but your child will not learn maths from you. Now that you may have children like Dr. Dorothy, Dorothy's children will not learn English from Dr. Dorothy. No. So something like that. These children learn English from teachers who spend more time with them. So who are the teachers who are spending more time with the botany students? Who are the teachers who are spending more time with mechanical engineering students? Who are the teachers who are spending more time with the BBA student, zoology student, English teacher, or their department teachers? It is their department teachers. Whatever English they learn from us, duly unlearned by them the very next hour when they talk to their zoology teachers. You say zoology, and that teacher comes and says zoology. So zoology, it registered in their mind. You say that we will meet tomorrow, and the commerce teacher comes and says that I will meet you tomorrow. That tomorrow registered in their mind, because exposure to that type of English is more. So don't think unnecessarily, don't take the burden upon yourself of teaching English to your students. You pretend as if you don't care for them, because they have to care for themselves. And you are teaching English to a new set of, new generation of students. We call it as netizens. They believe in the internet world than in your, no. Sometimes, my students do it because whether it's a BA class or MPhil class, Dr. Dorothy knows pretty well that I encourage a student to use mobile phone in my class. While I am teaching, let them also be referring to the quality of my teaching through mobile phone. Some goody students know, I have some seminarians in my classes, all sections. So whatever I tell them, they are also closely following on the internet to see whether the information that I give is right or wrong. Pronunciation is right or wrong. Okay, so they know they are more intelligent than us. Don't underestimate the intelligence of our students now, because their IQ level, EQ level is very high, because they are exposed to all corners of knowledge. Okay, they may not know, but they are being influenced. So friends, the first trend, I explain it, you understand. The trend is, I would say the first and the last trend, the latest trend is from language teaching to language learning. Learning is more important. You may be teaching how to write a leave letter for 1 hour. Unless otherwise students have the confidence to write a letter, they will not value my class of teaching for 1 hour. In fact, I have wasted 1 hour in their life. Maybe I will be getting my 3 lakh salary per month. That's a different matter. The salary comes not for what I am teaching. Salary comes for my seniority. That's all very simple. So the shift is from the recent trend is there is a shift, paradigm shift from language teaching to language learning. That is the reason I have given the title Recent Trends in English Language Learning and then Teaching. Teaching is backgrounded. Don't feel bad about it. You should be happy if students emerge as independent learners. How long can we travel with our students? We cannot travel with our students for long. Once the students leave the portals or a classroom or institution, Maybe they remember us. They may remember for the jokes that we cracked. They may be remember us for the lighter moments that we created, not heavy moments like subject teachers created. Sometimes that the students remember English language teachers because we offer them very light classes. We don't torture them. We give them nice stories from Shakespeare or other literary texts, so they remember for what. But then once they cease to be a student, when they think that they are not able to be placed on campus, off campus interview, when they are waiting for jobs, when they are not able to communicate, then they take all wrath on us, not on their subject teachers. So friends, the shift is from teaching to learning, from teacher to learners, from content to communication, not the books, not the stories, ultimately to communication. The shift is from knowledge to skills. The shift is from textbook to Facebook. When you say Facebook, you ask students to bring textbook, they bring Facebook to the class. When you say Facebook, social media. Last week, I had my scholar defended her PhD thesis from Bahrain. She has done her thesis on use of social media for improving writing skills. So the shift is from textbook to Facebook, from listening to English to using English, from being passive listeners to becoming active users of English. They are dreaming. They want to speak English like you. They can't be kept as zoo animals, captives, for a very long time. They want to. The shift is from being monolinguals to becoming bilinguals. The shift is from English language teaching to communicative language teaching. The shift is from communicative language teaching to communicative language learning, CLL. The shift is from call to call, computer assisted language teaching to computer assisted language learning, from call to mall, from computer assisted language learning to mobile assisted language learning, from classroom to once study room, what you call flipped classroom. They want to have a shift from lots to hearts, lower order thinking skills to higher order thinking skills. Because somehow in India, we equate English with intelligence. If you know English, you are intelligent. If you are not able to speak English, if you cannot write in English, if you cannot read in English, you are a dull-headed citizen. So they want to project themselves as intelligent people. So they want to move away from lower order thinking skills to higher order thinking skills. The move is from individual learning to cooperative learning, collaborative learning. The move is from literary English to very simple English, what we call dogma ELT, that I will be referring to in a while. They want to move from in-person learning to blended learning. How long they can look at us? No, they want to have some virtual reality. The pandemic has taught them the values of blended learning. The move is from theory to problem-based language learning. The move is from theory to the practice-based language learning. The move is from teacher to project-based language learning. The move is from pedagogy to andragogy, from andragogy to hortagogy, from class-based research into research-based teaching, from acceptance to inquiry-based learning, from using English to creating something in English, from feeling to cognition, student cognition, teacher cognition, from dependency autonomy, learner autonomy, teacher autonomy, from being passive listeners to becoming interactive learners, learning by doing, from TBL to TBLL, we say task-based language teaching to task-based language learning. Teachers can use a task, but the students, are they learning English by using a task? From transmissive to transactive, from transactive to transformative language learning, from monolanguaging to translanguaging, from grammar-based to content-based language learning, what the government spent a lot of money on what you call CLIL. No? So these are the examples of the shift in the trends from teaching to learning. So friends, I have left 1 hour now, so I will briefly introduce some of there are a number of recent trends in English language learning and teaching, but I have chosen about 13 trends on which we Indian teachers must shed some light, must read, must conduct some experiment, must share our findings with international community of scholars through publication of articles before we implement them. Because most of these changes that we call recent trends have had their genesis in the monolingual Western countries, and they experimented in their relatively smaller native classroom, English classroom. But now they have been exported all over the world, where, as I told you, that these methods, these ideas have been exported from inner circle countries to outer circle countries and expanding circle countries. Whether they are suitable to our culture or not, that we have to decide. You cannot simply accept anything. This is like European theories. All the theories have come from European cultures. You can't simply accept these theories before verifying the applicability, the suitability of these theories or literary culture. Okay. So with this caution, let me introduce very briefly some, at least I plan to introduce 13 trends which will enable you to teach English as a second language, to teach English is our language, to teach English not as a mother tongue, to teach English not as a literary language, to teach English for international communication, to teach English as a globist. I use the word teach because most of you are teachers here. I'm happy that there are students and scholars attending. So we must learn to use the word learning more frequently than teaching. It's a way of instilling confidence in our students also. Number one, the recent trend, among the recent trends, number one I have selected is, at random I have selected, because when I went through the literatures available in these fields, I'm also almost completed a book on research methodology of language and literature. So I have included all these points over there. I titled it, I'm awaiting a decision from a person for publication. Self-directed language learning, SDL, self-directed, that's the first, self-directed learning, SDL, self-directed language learning. L stands for language and learning. The technical term is andragogy, ANDRAGOGY, andragogy. When Dr. Dorothy asked me whether I'm making any PPT, I said no, I'm not using it, because it has become a fashion for literature teachers also to use the PPT, though it is originally designed for science guys. And I want you to look at me. If you don't look at me, who will look at me now? I want you to listen to me if you don't listen to me now. So if I show it, then you will have screenshot, and then you will not, you won't find the time to see what you have taken. So better you can do some note making, or you can just listen Jordan's on. So self-directed learning. Now, why would you say self-directed learning? Andragogy, andragogy. It is almost inevitable in the 21st century that adult learners, I tell you friends, adult learners, they're all college teachers, students who are coming to your classes, the first year classes, 17 and a half. Within 6 months, when they complete the first semester, they become adults, they become voters, they become marriageable, eligible for, whether they have become eligible for anything else, they have become eligible for marriage at least. So adults, we may call it young adults. These young adult learners need to self-direct their own learning. Their learning should not be directed by us. In schools, we use the word pedagogy. That word is often overused, abused in the literature on ELT. So we cannot use the word pedagogy in colleges. Instead, we must use andragogy. So peda means children. Pediatrician, you remember? So pedagogical approaches. So pediatrician, peda means in Greek means children. Okay. So logy, helping, methodology. So helping children, that's okay in schools. But now when students come to colleges, they are not children. Maybe when you become old, you may use metaphorically, you are all like my children, I am like your mother and all those metaphorical literary descriptions are being kept apart. They are young adults, there is no doubt about it. Okay. So andragogy, andra means adult in Latin. In Greek word, andra means an adult, meaning self-study. Self-study, self-education. This self-study, self-education has existed from the classical period. It has played a very important role in the lives of Greek philosophers like Socrates, Plato, Aristotle. They learned themselves. Even in Tamil society also, like you have Kalaignar or Kamarajar, Who are their teachers? They were not, they didn't study. They studied only up to 5th standard or something like that. Okay, so but they became great scholars. They know self-study is the best study, self-education. So in modern times, there are several public personalities who had no access to formal education, as I said, but they had to educate themselves. So self-directed learning has become a major research area within ELT. Adult second language learners, in which we are involved. College teachers are involved. Adult second language teaching and learning, not children. Okay, so sometimes these native speakers, when they come to India as ELT specialists, they are all dealing with the children. They are giving us games which are not appropriate to college level, because we are dealing with adult second language learning. So these adults cannot be spoon-fed. In fact, second language learning is a lifelong process. In this sense, andragogy extends itself into the next one that I'm going to use the word heartagogy, lifelong learning. Learner experience becomes the source of identity. Learner's ability to assess the gap between where one is, where one needs to go is very imperative. Students should know, where am I moving towards. Teacher cannot direct my learning. I have to direct my learning. Teacher directed learning at the school level. Now, I am the owner of my own learning. The course content should therefore be relevant to real life tasks. It should be organized around life and work situation. Okay, learners are influenced by internal motivations like self-esteem, recognition, better quality life, self-confidence, self-actualization. So friends, the first one is Sdl Andragogy. We are not teaching, but students are teaching themselves. We teach them how to learn themselves. That's the mantra. Whether it's a grammar or phonetics or literature or whatever it is, whatever you teach in English literature class, don't teach the subject. You teach them how to teach themselves. You teach them how to self-learn. That is the mantra. This is called self-directed language learning. One of my PhD scholars, she is working in St. Joseph's College, is doing research on SDL. Number two, again, this is called SDL, but this D stands for not directed but determined. Self-determined learning, self-determined language learning. This is the rough English translation for the word that has come from the Greek word heutagogy. H-E-U-T-A, hota, H-E-U-T-A, and gogy, G-O-G-Y. So this term in Greek means self. Okay, it is defined as the study of self-determined learning. We must be determined. When we often say you can take the heart, but you cannot make it to drink. Okay, so that is entirely true in the case of the philosophy of heutagogy. Students must be self-determined to learn. So you are introducing students from pedagogy to as I said, andragogy, the term is directed, self-directed. Now you help them to become self-determined learning. In the classroom, of course, it is self-directed learners, but it's only they are on their way. As an approach, self-determined learning is seen as an active and proactive process. They must learn what is not taught. They must predict what is going to be taught. So learners serve themselves as a major agent in their own learning, which occurs as a result of personal experiences. The role of the teacher is restricted to providing guidance and resources. So how to become self-determined learners? They have to do a lot of work on their own, and teachers must have faith in them. More learning takes place not necessarily inside the classroom, but it is taking place outside the classroom. It could be outside the classroom, but within the campus. It could be within the campus, but it could be within the library. Okay, so learners take up the ownership of their own learning path and process, and they determine what to learn, how it should be learned. They must decide. We should not decide. Hence, heutagogy is a form of self-determined learning. It takes its origin in andragogy, pedagogy, andragogy, and in the andragogy, it takes its origin, and its principles and practices start from andragogy. No one can become a self-determined learner unless he or she is a self-directed learner. So it is as an approach to teaching and learning, self-determined learning emphasizes learners' autonomy, their determination to learn lifelong and independent of teachers. We must train them to be learners independent of us. Okay, it's a form of self-teaching, it's a form of self-learning. However, self-determined learners are being prepared in andragogical classes. So the point is that our class is not a pedagogical class, our class is an andragogical class. Our aim is not to keep them as self-directed learners, but to help them to become self-determined learners. So self-determined learning focuses attention on the development of learner capacity. Learner capacity is something that has to be demonstrated. That has to be demonstrated in the present, and capability is demonstrated in the future. What students are capable, that is capacity. What students can do now, right now. No, so that's the difference between capacity and capability. The ability to demonstrate now is capacity. The ability to demonstrate in the future is called capability. So today's learners are expected to survive and thrive in a global knowledge economy. Okay, so 21st century learners need to have acquired capability to apply skills very effectively, very creatively to new emergent situations and ever-growing, changing, ever complex world. We cannot predict now, after 3 years, after 5 years, what kind of working world into which your students are going to be placed. And therefore, self-determined learning assumes importance since the teachers cannot travel along with the learners throughout their life. So the teacher's role is to teach learners how to self-teach, to teach learners how to self-teach outside the class throughout their life. Here comes the key affordances of the internet. Technology will help them a long way to be sustained as lifelong self-determined learners. That's number 2. Number 3, project-based language learning. We call it BPLL, project-based language learning. It is a pedagogical approach to learn and teach a subject through projects, you know that. But we are using project only as a mode of testing for our major courses. Okay, but what I'm saying is that BPL, project-based learning, can or is applicable to second language learning, a mode of learning. When it is applied in English language teaching, it will be called, this BPL is called project-based language learning. Project-based language learning is transformative learning experience. That's the last topic that I will be referring to. Transformative learning experience. Learners are transformed. They are not repeating what we are doing in the class. They are creating something new. All of us by now will be, because you are involved in NAC accreditation, your own institutions. No? Ultimately, we want our students to reach the highest level in Bloom's taxonomy, synthesis, creation. Doing something. How long can they write? Can they read poems? If you are making your students write a poem, that's the highest achievement. How long can you teach a short story? You can teach 1,000 short story. It is endless. But your students are capable of rewriting the ending of one of the short story that you are teaching. That's a great contribution. Okay, so that's the creativity is the highest level. So this BPL is designed to engage learners with real life issues. You give them some real life topics, let them do project. The process of doing project, what you call TBLT or TBLL, in the process of doing the project, they learn quite a lot of a language involuntarily without being explicitly taught. So friends, it is self-directed learning. BPL, project-based learning, is a form of self-directed learning through learner-led activities. It is being extended over a period of time. Central driving questions leads to investigation and clear outcomes, and it could be group project, or now it could be individual project. When you teach a poem on the cloud, wandering lonely as a cloud, you teach this is very fine. But you ask the students in groups and individually, go to their terrace, look at the clouds, the moving clouds. You ask them to write down, pen down a few thoughts about what they're thinking about, instead of being influenced by this poet that you have introduced. What do they feel? Let them write something on their own. You can give any number of topics for them to work on. The fourth one that I'm moving to is problem-based language learning. Problem-based language learning. Learning a language is a problem. Don't say that it is not a problem. You tell them that learning English is a problem. Learning English pronunciation is a problem. Learning grammar is a problem. Learning a poem is a problem. Learning is a problem. Let them solve it. Learning is a process of finding solution to the problem. So problem-based language learning in pedagogy is that it treats learners to become drivers of their own learning. Okay, they don't depend on you. Miss, please tell me how the word should be pronounced. You go, it's a problem for you. You go and find out, and then you come back, and then I'll verify. Don't give immediately, don't supply. No spoon feeding. So it exploits real-world issues as a classroom subject matter. Encourages literature is an ideal medium. You can use literature in language classes provided you are exploiting problem-based language learning. Lots and lots of daily, everyday problem being dealt with in literary text. But then don't give solution. Don't accept the writer's solution. If you were Shakespeare, how do you end Macbeth? If you were Shakespeare, you were Telia, if you were Dryden, how do you end Macbeth? No. Don't impose anything on students. Don't say that author is like a god. That is a Platonic idea. Gods, writers will not tell lies. That's all there, all old theories. But you ask students to explore. Here is the problem. How do you treat? If you were Hamlet, how do you resolve this issue? That fictional Hamlet be there. If somebody is overlooked in matter of seniority, that's the problem for Iago. If you were in that position, what do you do? Are we setting questions of that kind in our assessment mode? We are not doing that. We ask students simply to repeat what is there in the text. Very often I say that repetition is not the interpretation. When you interpret a text, if you keep on interpreting what the writer said, then we are not necessary. Scholars are necessary. So friends, the problem-based language learning creates much space for innovation, creativity, critical thinking. It emphasizes the effective use of the target language, that is English, to learn it. Whereas other approaches advocate the practice of predetermined language structure, already decided what should be learned, syllabus has already decided, teachers have already decided. Whereas in problem-based language learning, there is no predetermined language structures for students to learn. As they try to solve the problem, they learn it. Very often, I have a page in Facebook. When I am busy, I am not able to, I won't do that. But every day I post one small item about the English language. Student, past student, present student, they express their doubts also. So they, without any pain, they do some research and they say how it is now. Okay, but recently, I think 2 days ago, one of my old students who is from Bodhi, he said, so how to say in English Persi? Persi vanditaru, Persi sollitirukkaru. How to say Persi in English? It is their doubt. I said that you go and Google it. You take it 1 or 2 days, and then you find out. Then he came back. Then he gave a slight clue. So is it a word that he has rightly found out that particular word for Persi in English? Okay, so you don't give anything. Let them treat it as a problem. Yeah, what is the equivalent for say during Diwali? We say that very kiradu. In most of the Indian newspapers, there is a burst crackheads. Burst is some atom bomb will burst, not crackheads. So, Tamil, we think in Tamil Indian language, then we translate. So immediately, if you are going to give the right expression, student will know and then forget. No, let them do some problem solving activity so that they will find out. And I published the first volume of my Facebook. It has been published by Author Press in Delhi. I think the doubt English uses 1,000 doubts cleared. So that is the title of the book. Now, if you have a chance, you can go and look at it. So, problem-based language learning. Okay, so it has got advantages and it has got some disadvantages also. I don't deny that. The next one is practice-based language learning. Practice-based language learning. One of my scholars is doing research on practice-based language learning. Learning theory and practicing what is learned simultaneously are the foundation of practice-based language learning. Simple thing I tell you that we teach them we teach them the conversion of direct speech into indirect speech, for example. Where are our students going to use it? You are teaching them the conversion of, we are teaching them a conversion of active voice into passive voice. Why do we teach? Where are they going to use? When will they use? So, learning theory that you are teaching in the form of grammar or what is a sonnet or something like that, then where are they going to practice? They have to do it simultaneously. It's quite evident in professional courses like medicine, for example, or law. Medicine and law, I think that the graduates are taken to court, and medical graduates are every day they are spending 1 or 2 hours in the classroom. The rest of the day they are taken to the hospital attached to the medical college. They learn more through hands-on experience. Coming to science courses in your institutions, they are exposed to lab work. They are being taken to industrial visit. They are given a project included in the curriculum. So practice-based learning, unless they practice, nurses, they do a lot of practice before they become full-fledged nurses. So when doctors, engineers, lawyers, nurses, they all become professionals, and day one they start practicing. How? Where do they get this confidence? From the teachers through the classroom experience? No. Whatever they did through internship. So something like that, students must be provided lots and lots of opportunities to use English. You spend 1 hour of teaching resume writing, but make students to write a resume 10 hours, not necessarily inside the class, but outside the class. And we should know the patience to go through. Gone are the days when English teachers acted as tutors. Composition, correcting their compositions. Every week, Monday, I had a composition in St. Joseph's College for MA class, I tell you. Every week, we were made to write something, and professors corrected also. So with the practice-based learning, learners combine theory and apply it in the classroom itself. They become professionals in the classroom itself. Practice is a necessary condition for language learning. Without practice, they cannot perfect their learning English at all. So the need for practice-based second language instruction is somehow ignored. I personally feel, even though practice-based education prepares graduates, as I told you, doctors, lawyers, engineers, even teachers. When you join teacher training colleges, I think that they are taken for a few months for a training. It is training. Now there is another area called experiential learning. Unless otherwise they experience what is being learned in the classes, there is no way for them to learn. Okay, quickly I move to the next one, which is very relevant in the pandemic context. What I call MAL, mobile assisted language learning. Some 30 years ago, in 1990s, we were talking about called computer assisted language learning. When I say computer, fixed desktop, because there was no word called desktop at all, because it was kept on the desk. That was computer. How to make use of computer? So computer assisted language teaching, teacher's point of view. And then came in early 2000 call computer assisted language learning. By the time you began, desktop became laptop, palm top, and tablet, iPad, and now you have come to a very small machine through which you can scan the entire world. I think that all of us, a day in our life cannot pass without touching mobile phone. Okay, what purposes may be different. So now all gadgets have been replaced by this mobile phone. Now, when I say mobile, it is usually smartphone. So mobile assisted language learning provides learning tools to the next generation. As I told you, 21st century, last 20 years, the guys who were born at the beginning of this millennium, this century, they are sitting in us in 2022 now. People who were born 17 years ago, 20 years ago, now they are sitting in our classes. Young teachers, now you are teaching English now, and after 20 years, when you are 40s and 50s, who will be your teachers? Who will be your students? Have you ever thought about it? Now you are 2020. Suppose you are in in 20s. After 20 years, who will be your student? Who will be sitting in your class? Anyone? Who will be sitting in your class? Those who were born before 2000? Those who are either being born now or those who are yet to be born. They are going to be your students in the future after 20 years. So we do not know what kind of technological gadget would be there. So teachers, we have to constantly update ourselves. Otherwise, there will be a huge gap between us and our students. And even now, our students, our children call us perisic. Because if you do not know what your children can do with the mobile phone, here is a digital divide. So friends, net generation, we are addressing net generation. We are teaching net generation. This new generation is encouraged to take control of what they learn, From researchers' perspectives, there is much of debate about what is mobile in mobile learning, mobile assisted language learning. What is mobile? Okay, is it electronic gadget that is mobile? Is it device? Is it technology that is mobile? Or it is a content that is mobile, cloud computing, or the learner who is mobile? Who is mobile? Because you are taking mobile wherever you go, and therefore you call it mobile. Or you are on the move, and therefore you call it mobile. Or the matter doesn't stay in one particular place as it's in the book. The matter comes, matter changes, the matter being updated. Okay, so mobile learning is defined in different ways. But mall has come to stay during the pandemic. So many students of mine, when I handle classes online, I sit at home, I use iMac, but most of my students are using only iPhone. And many students of mine are part-time workers also. One of my faculty members came and told me that, sir, this particular guy never responds. Then I said, you better call him and then talk to him over the phone. And then one day, she called him by name and then asked him to read the passage and asking him to open the camera. And then to her surprise, she came and apologized. And then she came share her experience with me. That guy was working in a rice mandi. He was using a mobile phone, sitting on the bag of rice at 9 o'clock, and he was attending her lecture. So that is the typical socio-economic background of Indian learners. But no, they are using a mobile phone. They have a mobile phone. But he said that he had got the help of the owner, who was kind enough to allow him to use his net card, and he was using it. So friends, this mall has got several advantages compared to call, and mall is a subset of a call. The most evident advantage is accessibility. Whether the boy is working in a rice mandi or sitting in the bedroom or is in a classroom or traveling. And one of my first year students last year, she had been placed in MA first year English. She was traveling from Coimbatore to Madurai. She is from Nagarkoil, but traveling from Coimbatore to Madurai to meet me to hand over the certificates. And then I could see a lot of disturbances. And then I asked her for interaction. She said she was traveling from. Even while you are traveling from one place to another place, you can attend the classes. So this is what I say, that a mall has, if in a computer, you cannot carry computer. So accessibility, learning can happen anywhere and everywhere. It is most convenient to learn through mobile devices. It enables to have contact with the teachers, fellow learners, anytime, in every conceivable place. From technological point of view, it is user-friendly and flexible, free from fixed space like a classroom, relatively cheaper. Okay, learner-centered and learning intensive. It's not only learner-centered, it's a learning intensive. Above all, privacy is assured. From learner's point of view, mobile learning, sometimes we call YUM learning, ensures self-learning at own space, at own place, at one's own time. So emerging technologies enable language learners with disabilities, because they can function as powerful substitutes for a textbook. People with the disabilities can listen to many audio files, okay, as they would wish, depending upon their competency levels. At the same time, mall has challenges and limitations. We need to do a lot of research. It has got its own challenges. It has got its own limitations. 2 days ago, when I was preparing an article on mall as a chapter in my proposed book, I was talking to one of my friends who is working in a college in Arpukotai. I think she is attending this webinar also. She was giving me a list of challenges. She didn't say limitations. A lot of challenges that teachers encounter using a mobile phone as an instrument for classwork. So it is the teachers who point out more challenges than a student. As I said, students are netizens. They are net generation. And some of them, really it is true, some of them got validity. Some of the difficult to read on a small screen, a small keyboard. Data storage is another problem. Limited length of text messages that you could see, view, or send. Limited audio-visual contact, or poor or low quality internet bandwidth. A sense of isolation from fellow learners, sense of isolation from the teacher. It's very nice to sit along with the fellow learners and the teacher, nothing like a face-to-face. And the quick fade of ideas and content through constant upgradation of the apps. Okay, so I mean, some point out that students do not afford to have smartphones that serve educational goals. That is also true. But I think the governments are coming in a way now. The way they are helping the students with, if one government gives laptop, another government promises a smartphone. So these are the problems, not technology per se, but something related to socio-economic, cultural condition. And above all, there is some amount of resistant inhibition to depend upon the machine, either handheld or fixed, because it lacks a human warmth. Sense of immediacy is missing. It widens the gap between the learners and foreign languages. So friends, it is up to us to explore the applicability of a mall. I think because of the pandemic, mall has come to stay. No, you cannot say no to technology. I always say that technology cannot replace the teachers, but technology can replace English language teachers without a technology. That's writing on the wall is very clear. Technology cannot replace English language teachers, but technology can replace English language teachers without a technology. In other words, English language teachers without a technology will be replaced by English language teachers with technology. So there is no choice for us other than learning technology. Closely related to MAL is the next area is blended language learning. Blended language learning. It is sometimes called hybrid learning, and governments and agencies in India called what we have been doing during the pandemic. They call it blended learning. But it is not a blended learning. There is a lot of misconception about blended learning. Blended learning is meant for all disciplines, but we are talking about blended language learning. Traditional teaching learning method and technology are blended. So what are blended? Technology and traditional classrooms, or they are blended. Equally important. No, both are equally important. They are just a combination of technology and traditional classroom. Okay, mutually they change each other. Technology changes tradition, and tradition also influences technology. So it results in more flexibility for learners to customize their learning experiences. There are several blended learning models that make use of Web 2.0 tools such as blogs, wikis, discussion forums, voice and video tools, and flash files. The flipped classroom is one type in which learners listen to the recorded lectures and view the traditional material at home prior to their class, and then they spend their class time for exercises and problem solving groups and pairs under the supervision of the teacher. I'll say more about fixed class. Flipped classroom little later. There is some discussion, as I told you, about blended learning. It is not a completely online or a digital course, as you have online courses. So it is not completely online or a digital course or a lecture course that is posted online. You record your lecture, you post it online. That is not a blended learning. In other words, it is not a matter of swapping analog tools for digital ones. What happened during pandemic COVID-19 pandemic in India is a classical example of swapping analog tools for digital ones. We never adopted blended learning at all. We simply swapped the analog tools for digital ones. Okay, teachers, for example, this is what my colleagues did in our college. I think that most of you would have agree with me. Teachers delivered lectures through Google Classroom using mobile phones or laptops or desktops. Am I right? We used this as an instrument, as Dr. Patricia said, virtual hall. So we treat it as a virtual hall. So mobile phone or desktop or laptop was used as a platform where we lectured. What we would otherwise do in classroom, we were doing it here through Google Classroom. I think many institutions have created their own Google account and Google Classroom there. In many cases, teachers, in many cases, students muted their audio and switched off their camera. So this is like a teacher talking to themselves. You don't see anyone. Whether they are available or not, you don't know. And in many cases, teachers also switched off. Many women faculty members, they used to confess to me that they also switched off their camera because their picture is being misused by some guy. So some screen shared a PPT. So state government started educational TV channels. No, they did online what they would otherwise do in the traditional class. This is not a blended learning at all. Okay, this is you may call it a kind of a dual mode. Okay, so at a tertiary level, institutions ask their faculty members to come to campus. Am I right? Most of you would have been asked to come to campus. Now you can do it from your home. If it is blended learning, you can do it from home. But now this is Indian campus ethos, because institutions suspect the integrity of the teachers. Whether you handle classes from you come to the campus, you sit in your respective classrooms. Okay, and while sitting and delivering your lectures, there are how many people are in the classroom? 1 or 2, or nobody turned up, because the option is given either offline class or online class, and many students chose they prefer to be away. They want to be away at home, and you were delivering your lectures. No, this is, as I told you, is a kind of dual mode. This is not real now. So in blended learning, the in-person and online elements worked together. One day you are having online class, the following day all students come to your class for in-person discussion. It does not simply duplicate course content. That's what's happening. So the problem that we are facing now in American college, we sent online question paper and our students went on strike. Then minister announced only offline exam. Then we were asked to get back our question papers and rewrite the question papers in order to suit offline exams. So we have done it. Now again, government has announced online. Now online students are going to face offline question papers. In offline question papers, you test memory. So in offline test papers, they are going to be administered online. They are going to use their textbook. So the whole testing, the whole assessment has become a tamasha. So friends, in blended learning, both must be blended. The in-person and online elements work together. It does not simply duplicate course content in varying formats. Okay, so that you keep it in your mind. And all students, first I give you just highlight to 2 points. All students get the plenty of opportunity to online learning outside the classroom. Learning in the sense of knowing, understanding does not necessarily take place within the classroom. Students come prepared to your class. Number 2, they all come to the traditional classroom fully informed about the content of the lecture or the materials beforehand for discussion and acquisition of different higher order thinking skills other than knowing, understanding in the classroom. So they familiarize themselves with the content through your lectures online, and for offline class they come for discussion. So that is the greatness of they don't learn anything from us in person classes. They learn from each other. They learn things from each other through discussion in the classroom. I'll quickly move on to the next area. Very, very little research is done here in India. It's one of the upcoming areas, but a lot of research has been done in Western countries in ELT, not English literature teaching, but language teaching. There are a number of journals also, what is called Scholarship of Teaching and Learning, SOTL, SOTL, Scholarship of Teaching and Learning. Please Google it, then you find out. It's a fast coming area. Young scholars, you can focus your research attention on scholarship of teaching. How do you teach? How do students learn? That we take for granted. We never waste our time on reflecting over what we have been doing in classes, what's happening in the classes. Okay, both language teaching, literature teaching, it happens. So now it has become an area of concern. It's a fast-growing discipline. It teaches teaching and learning as a serious intellectual work. Teaching is a serious intellectual work. Learning is a serious intellectual work. What's happening when you are teaching? What's happening to students? What's happening to your lectures? What's happening to your time? What's happening to students' time? It's a serious intellectual exercise, and therefore that has to be examined. The ultimate aim of scholarship of teaching and learning, we are creating scholarship of our own teaching. We are creating scholarship of our own learning. Okay, in order to improve student learning, we should become aware of what's happening while you are teaching, what's happening while students are learning, and we have to create a scholarship. Research into what and how students learn can incidentally help teachers develop innovative teaching. If you understand how learning has taken place, we can always improve our teaching practices also, which in turn leads students to significant learning gains. So the scholarship of teaching and learning involves systematic investigation of some aspect of one's teaching, gathering, analyzing evidence. For example, I tell you, after having delivered a lecture for 1 hour, so to your first time class, you come back to your staff room. The teacher is going to go to that class next hour, asks you, ma'am, what did you teach? How was the response? Then you say, what do you say? 100% success. So beautiful class. I feel I am fully satisfied. Students maintain pin drop silence. They just listen to me. We mistake their being passive for 100% learning. This is like very often, I compare, this is like asking the patient, doctor asking the patient, or one doctor sharing his procedure experience with another doctor. How was the procedure? How was the surgery, doctor? A doctor asks. And this doctor says, oh, my patient beautifully cooperated. He maintained pin drop silence. He never moved any limb because he was anesthetized patient. How can you take a patient to cooperation being laid down on the operation table as a mark of success of, So what happened? Very often what happens when you say that operation is a success, but patient is failure. Our classrooms are also like that. So when teachers ask us, when we say that I am satisfied, ask ourselves, why am I satisfied? Am I satisfied because I delivered all that I planned to deliver? Am I satisfied because there was a signs of learning on the faces of my students? Am I satisfied because I took the feedback from students at the end of the class? There is a concept in ELT, exit slip, entry and exit slip. When you enter the class, you give a slip with 5 statements, with 2 statements, asking them what they learned in your previous class. Then you give them a slip. You ask them to write down before you leave the class, what did they learn during the past 1 hour in your class? Entry slip, exit slip. That gives you some idea about how your lectures were received by your student. So friends, the scholarship of teaching and learning involves systematic investigation of aspects of our teaching. So we must maintain a journal. We must maintain a diary. Do we maintain it? Do we write down every day, every class, what happened? Your own personal. No, you write it like that, and then at the end of the semester, you have a huge record, subjective record only, but a huge record of information about what you did. You can undertake a longitudinal study that serves as primary source for you to reflect over what you have done in one full semester, maybe poetry class or language class or whatever it is. Okay, so it views teaching and learning as a scholarly work. Friends, don't take teaching learning as an ordinary work. It is an extraordinary work. It is an intellectual exercise, and therefore we have to take it very seriously. It's a scholarly work. 1 hour of teaching is a scholarly work. I know that we spend a lot of time the previous day, previous week preparing for that particular lecture. When you don't take your lectures seriously, who else will take it? Give them some handouts. As Dr. Patricia said that if your handout is worth using, students will use it throughout their generation. They may pass it on to another generation also because it's a scholarly work. So teachers engage in innovative acts of teaching. Okay, so this systematic reflection, this systematic interrogation of the classroom will help you bridge teaching and research with a focus on enhancing student learning. Quickly, I move on to the next recent trend is flipped classroom. It's a huge success in many institutions in India now, though much research has not been carried out in it is being done in medical colleges, law colleges, and science students. Not law college, engineering colleges. But flipped classroom, all of us can attempt in language classes. I have attempted in literature classes also. It's a huge success. So flipped classroom is a type of blended learning. When I talk to blended learning, I just made a passing reference to flipped classroom, where learners are introduced to content at home and practice at the institution. Right now, what is happening is that we are introducing content in the classroom and we ask students to do some practice like writing assignment outside the class, maybe at home. This approach reverses. Flipped classroom is reversing, inverting, or flipping the more common practice of introducing content at college, assigning homework or a project to be attempted at home. And therefore, it is called flipped classroom. It was introduced not by language teachers, it was introduced by 2 chemistry teachers in a state called Colorado in the United States way back in 2006. So these 2 chemistry teachers, during free time, they reflected over their concern for those students who could not attend their classes due to their participation in school culturals or some personal reason they could not attend. Mind it, science class. So they had to forego their lab courses also. So these 2 well-meaning teachers were sharing with one another the burden, how to help those students who are missing our classes. So that's how this idea started. So the focus is on learners. So they decided, what did these teachers decided in 2006? To audio record their lectures first, then video record their lectures. Video record what's happening in the lab in not more than 16 minutes. So flipped classroom says, record your lectures, audio record or video record. Now mobile phone is there. You don't need any recording studio at all. We can record our own lectures for 16 minutes on mobile phone. Then you put it in your Google Classroom. If not in the website, you post it in the Google Classroom. This tomorrow, what students are going to learn in your class. What's happening now? Only after student coming to classes, you are making an announcement. If it is a language class, you say, today friends, I am going to teach tenses. Everybody becomes a tense. Because a tense is a thing that has been taught throughout their school. Again, this miss is going to come and she is going to teach tenses. And there is a lot of confusion about number of tenses among students also. Some school teachers thought that tenses were 3 tenses. Some liberal English teachers said there are 12 tenses. And postgraduate students come to my course in the first MA. I tell them that these teachers are wrong. There are only 2 tenses in English. Now student confusion has become complete. School level, some teachers said 3 tenses, other teachers said 12 tenses. Now this idiot comes and says there are 2 tenses. So why do you shock students? Today I'm going to teach you sonnet, Shakespearean sonnet. Why do you give them a shock? This is what this approach are, flipped classroom. You tell them, you give them 16 minutes lecture because students cannot listen, focus, attention. They cannot attend to your lectures. They cannot focus on your lectures more than 16 minutes. So I think that if you remove all lighter moments that you build into your lectures, and if you filter your lecture, it will come only to 15 minutes. So 15 minutes short in lecture on what is a sonnet, what is the short story about, what is this grammatic, how to convert this, how to use the definite article, where you should not use. So you give a lecture in 15 minutes, you record it, audio record or video record, then post it in your Google Classroom or in WhatsApp group. Students will read. They will listen to your lecture. When you deliver a lecture in the classroom, how many times can they listen? They can listen only once. Those who attend your classes will listen to your lecture only once. Even if these students, ma'am, your lecture was wonderful, awesome. This awesome has come with the social media. So please, can you repeat this lecture tomorrow? And you say that, I'm sorry, girls, I cannot repeat this. Golden words cannot be repeated second time. Because we ourselves do not know what we did today in the class. Often we did something. So you cannot repeat the same thing again and again. And those students, 2 or 3 students who missed your lectures, if they made a personal request, madam, could you please repeat this lecture? We cannot do. But now you have audio recorded. To start with, it will be little difficult because our own apprehensions. But once you have your voice recorded once or twice or thrice, then what we say in Tamil, no, kind of tenavity will be setting. You will keep on recording your own lectures and then you will post it in the Google Classroom or WhatsApp group. Students sitting in the classroom, they will be listening to your lecture as many times as they require. So here there is no dichotomy between, there is no gap between high achievers and low achievers. Everybody is an achiever. Low achiever, slow learner will listen to your lectures twice or thrice, then they learned it. High achievers would have listened to your lecture only once, they have learned it. When these students come to your classes, they are all on equal footing. No slow learner, no advanced learner. Now, you divide the class into groups, into pairs. You ask them to discuss what they learned from there. You give them a sonnet. You ask them to identify whether it's a Petrarchan sonnet or Shakespearean sonnet because you've already given a lecture. Okay? You say that whether this sonnet resolves the emotional dilemma in the last couplet or not. You give them some question. Let them discuss. So now higher order thinking skills, knowing and understanding they have accomplished at home. Now they start analyzing, applying, evaluating, and a day will come, they will create of their own. So friend, this is what we call flipped classroom. You cannot flip all parts of the syllabus, all parts of the course, but you can be little studious enough to choose that part of the unit, not the entire unit, that part of the unit for converting into a flipped classroom. Now, the last but one, I'm not going to, I have 10 minutes left, I believe. Dogma ELT, DOGME. It's not an English word. Dogma ELT or Dogma ELL. Dogma English Language Teaching, Dogma ELT. DOG, not MA or ME. A new approach. Dogma Language Learning and Teaching derives its name from an analogy with Dogma 95 film movement that started by Danish directors. Dogma 95, just you type it, you will find it. So these directors, they have given us a set of 10 rules. They advocate a set of 10 rules, which these directors call vow of chastity. Vow of chastity. Usually, brothers, sisters, and fathers, they have to take vow of chastity. So the same very word these Danish filmmakers are using, vow of chastity, on the part of directors and actors to minimize their reliance on special effects. When you direct a film, when you take a film, don't over rely upon special effects. Okay, to authentic feelings from the viewers. Scott Thornberry got this idea from Dogma 95. Then he created Dogma ELT. So Dogma is a teaching philosophy. It focuses on fluency but does not ignore accuracy. And the main point is that he has parodied, he has given basic 10 tenets of ELT, if you follow. One other thing is that don't use a textbook in the class. Don't over rely upon the textbook in the class. Let students bring their own text to the class, their own experiences. Language learners learn the language best when they are involved and when they are interested in the lesson. Don't give any special effect. Learners are not likely to retain any information if the materials that are used are not relevant to learners. All irrelevant materials should be removed. Okay, and materials. No, in fact, Scott Thornberry says that it must be materials light. Don't use too much of materials. Light materials. whatever resources students bring to class should be exploited. So teach English without a textbook. Teach English without predetermined syllabus. All listening material must be student produced. Let student produce. No, one student talks, it becomes material for another student, other students. No, so teachers should go down to the level of students. They pretend as if they are at the students' levels. Okay, any language used in the classroom should be real enough, like real effect a film should create. It should not be pre-planned. So it's a very nice, it's a nice area. Now people who are interested, it has got some limitations also in our Indian context. Quickly I move on to the next one is CBI. CBI, or what do you call CLIL, C-L-I-L. CBI in ELT we call it content-based learning. Content-based learning. The content is non-literary, content is non-grammar. Okay, when you say content-based, content should not be literature. Content is the content in which students want to graduate. That's called the content-based learning. And now it's British, CBI is American version. This is like a new historicism and cultural materialism. Okay, so something like the two versions of two nations. Content-based learning, CBI is American version, and it's near equivalent, British equivalent, we call it CLIL, C-L-I-L, CLIL. Content and language integrated learning. Content and language are integrated with each other. We call it CLIL. The idea is that a second language is learned more successfully when learners use it as a means of acquiring information. Botany students can learn English while they are learning botany. Okay, learners' needs for language, second language, are better reflected. It is rooted in the principles of communicative language teaching. So it's a great challenge. How can I teach English through botany? How can English teachers? This is a huge problem for teachers who are working in engineering colleges, because they have a module called ESP and a particular module called EST, English for Science and Technology, English for Science, English for specific purposes. So English teachers are expected to use engineering background textbooks to teach English. It's a huge challenge for us. And engineering teachers or science teachers cannot teach English by using, they are good at subject matter, but they are not good at English. English teachers are good at English, but they are not good at content, because a CBI content is non-literature, non-content. That is the content that we know. English teachers know English literature. Don't English literature as a content. So use content as a medium, and language becomes the result. This is what CBI and CLIL also says. Equal importance is given to and simultaneously equal importance is given to content subject and second language simultaneously, to say content and language integrated course. It's seen as a natural way of learning. In other words, English medium education. This is what Sam Petroda during UPA1 government, he created, submitted knowledge commission headed by Sam Petroda. He is recommending CLIL and the CBI. Okay, the former ADMK government spent more than 1 crore on developing CLIL, and as a pilot project, it was implemented in 4 government autonomous colleges. Okay, now I come to the last two. One is called translanguaging. Translanguaging is use of as many languages as students know, as many languages as students bring to their classroom. Translanguaging, it's not mastering 2 or more individual languages, but allowing students to use dynamically more than one language. And it is Suresh Kanagaraja from Pennsylvania State University visited American College 2-3 years ago. He gave 2 lead lectures. He is one of the authorities on translanguaging pedagogy. And translanguaging is students are permitted to move from one. I already told you, when creative writers are mixing, code switching in their novels, in their poems, why don't you allow students to use translanguaging as a mode of learning a new language? What is wrong in learning an unknown language with the help of known language? And we have a course in third year. In third year English literature, we have a course called contemporary Tamil fiction in English. Contemporary Tamil fiction in English. Okay. So we have prescribed about 6 novels, contemporary Tamil writers, and translated into English. This idea that I conceived, I introduced, though I never taught it, by a course audited a few classes. It's a huge success. Students liked it. Students started reading all the 6 novels in Tamil. Friends, I tell you that most students have reservation about reading novels even at the postgraduate level in English. But these guys, they started reading novels in Tamil. Then they became curious to know how the plot is presented in English, in translation. So they started reading English translation only after having read Tamil novels. Then during the classroom, students were permitted to switch over from Tamil to English and English to Tamil, and writing assignment also. And even in for example, there is a novel called Jallikattu. There is a novel called Jallikattu. We have prescribed it. English translation says Erina. I'm sorry, not Jallikattu, Vadivasal. The title of the novel, Tamil novel, is the Vadivasal, but English translation is Erina. Erina is the place where bulls are tamed, or bulls are embraced, or bulls are caught. Okay, whereas Vadivasal is a narrow opening through which bulls are permitted. So the title itself generates lots of discussion, my friends. So that is a translanguaging. So students can be encouraged to use Tamil in their language classes for a discussion. Ultimately, you take them to expressing, take them to express only in English. But there are certain things which cannot be expressed in English. There you can encourage your students to do it in. Now the last one, just 2 minutes. No, transformative language learning and teaching. This is the latest area. I have not come across even a single article by Indians, and not many articles. I just came across only one book that even is not available. Transformative language learning and teaching. TLLT. Transformative language learning and teaching. Okay. So this is an idea. This is an area where we have to spend a lot of time reading and reflecting. I want to conclude it just by giving 3 phases so that you will remember it. To start with, when we started teaching English in 17th century, 18th century, it was called transmissive classroom. Transmissive, we transmit. English teachers had transmitted a lot of information. Teachers were like sages sitting on the stage. They transmitted. So that classroom is called transmissive classroom. So direct method or GT method, that is called transmissive. This transmissive classroom was replaced in 1970s by what is called transactive classroom. Transactive classroom. With the advent of what you call CLT, communicative language teaching, transaction. Instead of information being transmitted from teacher to the student, now in 1970s, the classroom, English classroom became transactive classroom, where students had transacted communication. So communication became mantra. And now in 2020, I won't even say 2021, in 2020 or 2021, this transactive English language classroom is expected to be replaced very shortly by what they call transformative classroom. Students undergo a kind of transformation. This is a new paradigm shift, move from transactive to transformative approaches to English language learning and teaching. And in transactive approaches to language and teaching, learners are pulled to the center stage, whereas I told you teachers are pushed to the side. And acquisition of knowledge about the language paves the way for development of skills. But now what's happening is that the ability to use language successfully to finish a transaction is the cornerstone of teaching and learning as on now. Tasks have replaced exercises. In transmittive classrooms, we gave exercises, students all repeated. But now in transactive classrooms, tasks replaced exercises, Tests required learners to complete a task, not reproduce the rules. Higher order thinking skills of analyzing, evaluating, synthesizing replaced lower order thinking skills of knowing and remembering. The explicit teaching of grammar is replaced with accidental learning of, they say. Now we say that don't teach grammar explicitly. Let them learn. Let student ask you, doubt, then you clarify. Don't teach anything unasked. Integrated skills development through project-based learning or collaborative and cooperative learning, task-based learning, content-based learning is aimed at. So friends, learners change in some way. Transformation is taking place, whether it is a blended mode or through mall, flipped classroom, or dogma ELT. We are expecting some kind of transformation in the student as a whole personality. It can be thinking, transformation in terms of thinking. It can be in terms of behavior. It can be in terms of appreciation of others' values through fictional characters or appreciation of mindset or emotions. So the latest trend is, transformative language learning and teaching. So friend, this is the end of my reflections on recent trends in English language learning and teaching. As I said, trends that I touched upon are not exhaustive, only suggestive or indicative. So I shared with you the gist of these trends, and teachers and scholars, I request to read more about each of these trends for the purpose of research and teaching before implementing, or else we will be committing the sin of treating our students as guinea pigs. Thank you very much for your patient listening to me at the end of the day. Thank you very much. Over to the organizers.
Thank you, sir, for your electrifying presentation on the discharge of knowledge, which will bring forth changes in the syllabus, curriculum, and ultimately lead up to changes in the society. As we all strive hard to hit a balance between rural and urban standards of education, your ideas taken with effective measures will bring forth changes in society at large. Thank you once again, sir. There are a few questions from the audience.
Yeah, I'll be happy.
Yes, sir.
You can take, if you're already posted, you can take it from there. You can ask me, or you ask the participants to raise questions.
I'll just read out the question, sir. This is by Sujo Joseph. Is English language an intercultural language? This question has been posed because today English has become an amalgamation of different words drawn from umpteen languages from around the world. Is there any possibility that English language does pan out to be a language which has the capability to be the most variegated language, absorbing many native tongues within its parameters? Since English language transcends above all barriers and boundaries, can it be used for counter-narrative?
Yeah, the participant who raised this question has given you the answers also. English is not bound to any one particular culture. When you use English to talk about your experiences, whether fictional or literal, that is, it carries Indian culture. So it is intercultural. I won't say even intercultural, international. English is an international language, and therefore it carries international culture. You can't identify one particular culture being carried by. Usually we know the traditional view is that language and culture cannot be separated. They are inseparable. It is true to some extent, but it is not true in the case of English language, because I told you that English is not and cannot be confined to one particular region, one particular culture. So instead of saying it's intercultural, and you say intercultural is between cultures, you can say international. Okay, if you know English, if you use English, you become international citizen, and therefore you are not confining yourself to one particular area. So to some extent intercultural, but better to say that international.
Ms. Annapurni, our former professor, she asks, doesn't teachers' influence matter?
For want of time, I didn't take up that particular topic. It's called teacher cognition. Teacher cognition is another area, not upcoming area. Much has been explored. What teachers think, what teachers believe, what teachers feel about what they are doing always influences their performance inside the class. For example, they say that teaching grammar explicitly is useless. That's what I believe. If I believe that teaching grammar is useless, then the quality of my teaching of grammar will be like that, because I already decided. So teachers do influence, teachers' beliefs, teachers' knowledge, teachers' cognition definitely influence their performance in the class, no doubt about it. But not in the traditional sense. No, teachers cannot believe that they can bring about a change in the mindset of all students. No, that kind of overarching claims teachers should not entertain.
There is yet another question by Dr. Chandrima Sen. Sir, can we consider English as hegemonical language that dominates over all the other languages?
Yes, it is. No, there are some articles on this aspect of language. We call English as a killer language. It kills many languages. David Crystal says that a language dies once in 15 days. A language dies once in 15 days. In another 100 years, most of the languages would have been gone because of the influence of English. Maybe Tamil will be there, but most of the minority languages are likely to be affected by the pace with which the English language grows. No doubt about it. English is a killer language, but that is the reality. Survival of the fittest. Low performing languages will be eliminated. All languages are equal. All languages are good as far as they are used for communication purpose. There is no doubt. From social linguistic perspective, no language is superior to any other language. All languages are doing their duty because the languages grow. They always invent ways and methods of fulfilling the demands of the language users. One of the things that is said against Tamil or other languages, these are all backward languages. Tamil cannot express what English can do. It is not like that. When there is a need, Tamil will develop ways and means of developing itself, no doubt about it. But if languages fail, they are gone.
There is yet another question by Guru Sundar. If the span of attention is 16 minutes, why did the allocation of class time 15 minutes, sir? Any reason?
It's a total waste, I tell you. We are wasting so many man hours of students. It's a colonial system. You can always ask the question, why do you set a question for 3 hours? Because it's a Velakaran set hour, we simply follow. Why can't it be 2 hours? Why can't it be for online? We set it 2 hours. So 15 minutes lecture is not necessary at all. It can be reduced. Even if you have 15 minutes, let the teachers deliver the lecture for 15 minutes and make use of the remaining 30 minutes for discussion in the class. But in a teacher-fronted classroom, I'm talking about language classroom, teacher wants to be teacher-fronted classroom and therefore they want to talk all the time. A teacher talk time, triple T. Whereas a teacher talk time must be minimized, student talk time must be maximized. Students must be allowed to speak so that they will improve their communication skills.
Sir, there is yet another question by Rajashekar. Can storytelling club be taken as a research topic for PhD?
Oh yes, you can. I tell you friends, there is no limit to research topic being, because whatever a guide suggests, whatever you think you can do, that is a research topic. There is no one forum in any university which is critically scrutinizing whether it's worthy of investigation, and therefore it's a short storytelling. Storytelling is an upcoming area. You can exploit it for language teaching purpose, but it needs to be interrogated quite a lot. Research has to precede teaching.
And Shami Sana, she says, some of the students lose their interest while online class is continuously going on. How can we improve the interest in online learning?
Dr. Dardi, please can you repeat the question? I was disturbed with it.
Some of the students lose their interest while online class is continuously going on. How can we improve their interest in online learning?
That's why I told you that online learning alone will not help us, even culturally speaking, because we have been brought, our culture is different. This is entirely different. Mada Pida Guru Devam. Mada Pida Guru Devam. So we always reverence for Guru. That's why this cooperative and collaborative learning is not success in Indian classroom, because we have been culturally trained to learn things from our teacher. So teacher cannot be dispensed with.
No.
And online, there is no other way now, and therefore we are using. That's why I told you blended learning is useful. Familiarity no breeds contempt. No, our students have been made to use online class for past 2 years, and therefore they are bored with the online classroom. They want to come back to the classes. They want to move with the teachers. They want to be spending time with their fellow students. So judicious mixture of in-person and online classroom. No, that blended learning will be more useful than either traditional classrooms alone or online classrooms alone.
At this juncture, I would like to invite, welcome Professor Nedumaran. He is here with us. Sir, welcome, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
Welcome.
Welcome to sir.
Can you hear me?
Virtual College.
And his spouse Beta is also sitting at the back.
Yes, good to have you, sir.
He's also there.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you, sir.
I belong to the outer circle. You can call me an outcast since I'm retired. I have a question, John.
Yes, sir.
Should I hide behind this defense, code switching in a classroom, since I'm not able to speak English as it should be spoken in a classroom or whatever? Code switching, Tamil to English or English to Tamil, I feel it's a kind of weakness we Tamils have. No Tamilian can speak Tamil without mixture of English, not even for 5 minutes. And that I think is a weakness, which I don't find it in the Keralites or Bengalis or even Hindi guys, from my personal experience. But as a teacher, should I code switch while teaching literature, for instance? That's my question.
So it's a good question, Professor. This has been addressed by several researchers, and one of the limitations of code switching, if not code mixing, code switching, is the inability of the speaker to use that particular the target language. They resort to code switching. This is one view. But there are two sides to the coin. Number one is code switching and code mixing is seen as a social practice. As you rightly pointed out, that not even 5 minutes, I would say even a minute. And one of our students, she was your student also, Dr. Parvadavartini. I think you will remember she is working in Karigudi.
Yeah.
When she was my MPhil student. Now she was working in a college where there were more Malayali students than Tamil students in a college, women's college in Kelakarai. And she investigated this phenomenon of code mixing and switching. Who switches more frequently is Tamil students or Malayali students? And her research findings, of course, what you told her, Tamil students resort to code switching more frequently than Malayali students. But
They kill two languages. John, they kill two languages.
Malayalam and English,
and English.
Tamil and English.
Yeah.
Yeah, between these two languages, both the groups, they code switch, code mix. But only thing is that Malayalis are capable of staying back in Malayalam discourse for longer duration of time.
Right.
This longer duration is matter of seconds only, not even minutes. They switch over. But Tamil guys, that every other second they are using. No. Okay, this is a social practice. But as a pedagogical practice, whether it should be done or not, a lot of research have been done that they say that code switching and code mixing is an enabling phenomenon from learners' point of view. But the eye-opener that you have given to me is that when teachers are resorting to code switching because they are not able to express themselves in target language, either teaching literature or language, is sorry state of affairs.
I don't want you to send wrong signals to the prospective teachers. Thank you, John. Thank you very much.
The other aspect of the question we'll discuss on Saturday.
Thanks, John. Thank you.
Today is Saturday. I'll meet you tomorrow, bros. I think tomorrow lockdown is lifted. I can come.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Spellbound audience slowly come to a realization that the program has come to an end. Um, kindly fill in the feedback form which is posted in the chat box. Thank you everyone for your enthusiastic participation, and thank you Professor for your patient listening and explanation. Thankfulness is the beginning of gratitude. Gratitude is the completion of thankfulness. May I now request Dr. Preeti, Organizing Secretary and Assistant Professor of English, to propose the vote of thanks.
I'm here to spell out words of thanks to all those who made this evening a sweet memory. First of all, I would like to thank our Lord Almighty for his blessings and protection, without which we would not have seen this day. I express my sincere gratitude to the resource person, Dr. J. John Sekar, for accepting our invitation and sharing his knowledge cordially, which made us to move on with our real life portrayals and come to know that the need of the hour of blended learning and various methodology of learning and teaching English language. I thank you, sir. Next, I thank the management for their unstinting support in all the efforts that the department takes. It's my bounden duty to thank our head of the department, Dr. Patricia Alfin Nirmala, and Mrs. Angeline Sorna, the coordinator of this webinar series. I thank for their strenuous efforts in making this day a grand success. On behalf of our department, I thank all the outside participants and student community for your enthusiastic participation through Google Meet and YouTube channel. I thank you once again.
Thank you, ma'am, for your inclusive note of thanks. Dear participants, we welcome you all to take part in yet another webinar session, which is to be held on 1st of February, and the topic is e-colonialism. We take leave of you with a sense of profound gratitude that your expectations are met out, your quest for knowledge is quenched, and your desire to take a new path is directed. Thank you, all of you. Good night. Bye-bye. Thank you, sir. Thank you, both of you.